Welcome, everyone. This is your host, Patricia LeBlanc at the Spiritual Entrepreneur Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. And today I have another amazing guest, and her name is Julie Bourbeau, and I will introduce her in just a moment. But first, I would like to offer you a free gift as a token of my appreciation for listening to the Spiritual Entrepreneur Show. And my free gift is a free money clearing meditation, which you can go download at thespiritualentrepreneurshow.com. And now I'm really excited to welcome my next guest, which is Julie Bourbeau. Julie is a language expert. She helps business and charitable organizations get all of their material translated and proofread so that they can reach out to a broader market. Julie helps her clients to achieve presence, keep their message consistent, and look professional. Julie is a heart and soul, free-spirited, and determined entrepreneur. She is the founder of Julie Bourbeau Translation Services, which grew out of her desire and commitment to being a stay-at-home mom to both her kids, and has now grown into a full-time business and a team of 4 collaborators. So thank you so much, Julie, for coming on, guest on the show today.
My pleasure.
Perfect. So I know we don't have a lot of time, so let's jump right in because I know we could talk forever, me and you, because I know you very well. So can you start by sharing with us a little bit about your journey, about your story, how you got to where you currently are?
Yeah, well, I have quite a story, and it's quite long, but I like to think of myself as, my background is a bit unique. I'm not, I'm a late bloomer at everything. I got a driver's license. I was like 40 something. Went back to school. I was 30. I got a degree. I was 33. A lot of things. I got my kids late as well in life. So I'm a late bloomer at a lot of things, but I say that I'm an early bird, or I got my stuff and my shit together at a pretty young age. So that's what I believe makes me special. Through circumstances of life, I made wrong choices earlier on in life, in my late teens, and I was more interested in partying and going out and making all the wrong choices and blaming people. That's how I started in my late teens. My priorities, I didn't have them straight. I didn't know where I was going. I felt I was not living up to my full potential, but I didn't care. I really didn't care. And to make a long story short, at the age of 23, I put myself into a state of psychosis where it was either the party's over or you end up in a psych ward. That was my choice. And slowly but surely, I decided that I was going to stop drinking. I was going to quit using drugs, and I was going to get help for myself to get sober, but not only get sober, but to stay sober. So that's my story, like the personal part of the story in a nutshell. And then in terms of becoming an entrepreneur, it was a series of circumstances again. I don't like being told what to do. I don't like being told what to say. I don't like being told what to wear and how I should treat other people so that they become clients or partners or collaborators or whatever. It's not me. And through a series of circumstances, I ended up going back to university and getting a degree, a major in human relations. So a lot of like leadership courses, group cohesion, intervention. And I did that for a while because I felt like I had this mission to help people, and to be of service to others. So I did that for a few years and worked with drug addicts, alcoholics, women with mental health problems. I worked with the homeless. I did all that. But throughout the time I was doing that, I'd see my colleagues coming into work in the morning, totally exhausted because they had young kids. Some of them would leave on burnout because they'd be so busy helping other people and trying to balance work, family life and work, that they would burn out. And I would see that. and I didn't want that for myself. So when my last job in the community, community field, I was working for the Women's Y, and my contract was up when my maternity leave started. And when my maternity leave started, I decided, like, I can't, my contract is up. I could go get a job in that field again when my contract is up and put my daughter in daycare. And I could not, for the life of me, see myself do that. I could not, because I knew that I was going to put myself again in a place where I would burn out, or I would end up in a psychosis again, you know, for whatever reason. That was a big fear of mine. And so through a series of circumstances, again, through one of the people that you're going to interview on this podcast, she asked me to do a translation for her. And I'd done many translations in my lifetime, but never really got paid for it, but not like as a job. It was more like a little sideline. And I decided, well, you know what? I'm on maternity leave. My daughter is 4 months old. She's sleeping all the time. So let's find something to do. So I started a business. So that's a long story, but that's the story.
But I love how you talk about not liking somebody to tell you what to do. Because I think a lot of time our spiritual entrepreneurs were like that. We're in the corporate world.
Yeah.
But really, I mean, now I realize why I never really was fitted in the corporate world. I mean, I did advance I did get promotions. I've been in management in and out.
Yeah.
But I had a hard time when somebody, I mean, if I had a boss that would give me, this is your job, take it and run with it, I was fine.
Yeah.
If I had a boss start telling me how to do my job when I knew how to do my job, it didn't work so well. So I think it's quite common for us spiritual entrepreneurs. We need to be in control of our life. We need to be in control of who am I going to work with and all that. And I wouldn't go back.
Well, I don't, you see, and I don't come from the corporate world. I come from the community world. But even then, I felt like I had to live up to somebody's expectations of how things should be done. I was working in a rehab center, for example, with teenagers, and out of most of the staff, I was one of the only ones who hadn't been through the program of the place I was working at. So my approach was not the same approach. My treatment approach was not the same. So the kids liked me because I was not from that approach, but at the same time, I was not consistent with their approach. So they were like, you know, we were butting heads, me and the administration, you know, because of that. So even if it's not the corporate world, it's still a world where I felt I had to fit into whatever their mission.
Yeah, but you're still not 100% in control because you're still working for somebody else.
Yes, exactly.
So Julie, I've heard you talk about before your spiritual bottom. Can you elaborate a little bit more about that?
Oof, my spiritual bottom, again, you know, I reached a state of psychosis. How I ended up there, of course, you know, partying all the time and not sleeping much contributed to that, and the drugs and the alcohol that I was using. My bottom was basically, I can remember looking at myself in the mirror and not knowing who I was anymore. If you would ask me my favorite color, I did not know. I knew my name was Julie. I knew my hair was red. I knew that I had lost, I was like skinny as a rake and my skin was all like that. And I knew that, but in terms of everything else, I did not know. And I had no spiritual beliefs to keep me grounded or give me hope. I felt I had nothing. Like I didn't have a religion to count on. I felt I gave up on that, you know, as a kid. And I remember being in somebody's kitchen, a couple that I knew, and they had the serenity prayer on their wall. And for me, I would look at that and it was like a riddle, you know, and I was looking at it and trying to understand. And they just told me, like, just pray to whatever God that, you know, to something, for something to help you. And I didn't know. For me, the closest thing to God at that time was an uncle that I had who had died when he was 21, and I was 23 at the time. So he was kind of like, you know what, well, I would speak to him kind of thing. You know, but I had no hope,
Which I know, I think a lot of times when we hit rock bottom, it's either you're going to stay there, go
Yes.
worse, or that's going to be your wake up call to make you go to, okay, I need to do something with my life. Like,
Yeah,
uh,
for me that's what it was. It was either I stay the same or I go back to drinking and using and just sink even further, or I get my crap together. But I didn't know how. But through a series of circumstances, I went for help. It was okay. Like I can't. My bottom was like I cannot do this alone. It was a bottom and a springboard at the same time. If that makes any sense.
yeah, well, when I did my major depression in 2004, it came a point, and depression for me, most part, is genetics.
Yeah.
I mean, I was drinking a lot and all that, so that obviously didn't help out because I mean, I was just being a zombie, right?
Yeah.
And then when I remember at one point, kind of had like an enlightenment. It's like, okay, I have three options. I can either stay where I am,
Mm-hmm.
and that to me wasn't an option, or I could do whatever it took to get out of it, and then at one point I'm like, if I'm just going to stay here, I might as well just take my life, because
Yeah.
who wants to live like this, right? So I like how, like, when you get to that point, you have a few options, like which door are you going to open?
Yeah.
And yeah, opening the door and getting yourself out of there takes a lot of work, but I can tell you it's definitely worth doing all of that work to be able to get yourself out of there. Because a lot of people will just think, oh, it takes work, I'm just going to stay where I am. No, trust me, do the work. Like, life is so much more
Yeah.
beautiful
Yeah.
on the other side.
The Yoda thing, you do or don't do, there is no try,
Yeah.
but just it's up to just making that decision, and it either works or it doesn't, but at least you do something.
Yeah, for sure. So what was your road to recovery? Like, what did that look like?
Well, I don't want to be a spokesperson for any place in particular, but for me, what worked were 12-step programs. It's still working for me today. Some people take another road, and that's fine, but that's my story. I can't change it. So for me, it was that, but further than that, it was about service. It was about getting out of myself, okay, and helping other people who were struggling with the same thing that I had been struggling with. Not necessarily the same background, not necessarily did the same stuff, but to really like get out of myself and be of service to other people, while at the same time taking really, really, really good care of me. Because at the end of the day, I'm the only one who can be there for me. So a lot had to do with that, and just being vulnerable, and that was tough. It's easy to be vulnerable. Well, in my case, it was easy to be tough. It was easy to be tough. Doing cocaine, smoking joints, drinking, being loud, hanging out with less recommendable people. It was easy being tough. What was tough for me was being vulnerable.
But I think being vulnerable for most people is a hard thing until you get more used to it. Because I remember the first time when I started talking a little bit about my depression,
Yeah.
that for me was one of my rock bottoms. And I actually wrote about it, and people were sending me messages. I can't believe you wrote about that. It's like, well, most people have done at least a minor depression, if not a major depression in their life.
Yes,
And quite
absolutely.
a few people, I'm in a good position to actually talk about it. So I think it's commendable how you're able to take your journey and be able to share it with the world, because a lot of people have gone through, I mean, not the exact same thing, but have been addicted to something or had something, and they lost themselves. So
Exactly. And you know what? But there's a big stigma with mental illness and addiction. And I believe that addiction fits into the mental illness. There's a big stigma. And for me, I want to break that stigma. Respect, like, how can I say that? Like, there's things that I don't want to talk about because for me, it's not okay for me to talk about, and I don't want to promote any treatment or whatever, because to each their own. We all have our own journey, but it's about breaking the stigma, and that, okay, like there's like there's the paper, the the, what do you call it, the brown paper bag alcoholic, you know, but just like there's recovering alcoholics, you know, and there's people who are high functioning and who suffer from mental illness, and then there's people who suffer from mental illness but not high functioning. But to break the stigma, if I know people who have diabetes, they take insulin every day, but do we look at them down because they're like diabetic? No. So it's this, I look at it the same way.
And I think a lot of people either at one point either suffered through addiction or came close of suffering through it or it stopped themselves just in time. That was me.
Yeah.
I should have been an alcoholic. Like, I mean, the amount of alcohol, if I miss a night at a certain bars, they'd be panicking. Where's Patricia?
Where's Patricia? Yeah.
And I mean, now I look back and I'm like, that just, I mean, but I know I also had angels looking out for me. I was not meant to be one, but I could easily have become one.
Yeah.
Or a lot of times that's just your coping mechanisms, because either that's just how you cope with life. You go through major challenges or traumas, and that's one way of coping with it. And at that time, that's the way that makes more sense. So yeah, I think more people need to be aware and stop judging, because unless you're in somebody's shoes, you don't know how you're going to react.
Exactly.
So I also hear you talk about freedom, success, and spirituality. So how does that all work for you?
My big why for everything is freedom. I became an entrepreneur because I wanted to be free. Again, you know, it comes back to not wanting to be told what to do, what to wear, what to say, and whatever. But for me, that is my big, it's my big why. And also, you know, like, for the longest time, I thought that spirituality and freedom didn't go together because, you know, there's the thing, it's like if that God is a crutch, or Buddha's a crutch, or hell is a crutch, or something's a crutch, you know. But that's not the way I look at it. The more I invest in my own spiritual journey, the more I meditate, the more I do the things I do, the more I'm of service to others, the freer I am. Like, one of the things that I love the most is connecting people together. This morning I connected 2 people together. And for me, it's like, that's what I like, because it's how I serve. Just like my work is how I serve. And because of my service, then I'm free, because the money I make serving creates more freedom for me to do the things that I want to do.
And probably the happier you are, because you're actually able to do what you love to do instead of focusing on the things that you hate to do.
Yeah. And I often think, you know, like, my life is, last year at that time, my life was awesome. And now this year at this time, my life is awesome. Like, my life is always awesome, you know? And it's like, it just keeps on getting better. I have bad days. We all do. But for me, like, I'm free. Like, I have, literally, Patricia, like, I have no one to blame. You know, I've been through a divorce. I became a single mom when my son was like 10 months old. My daughter was 3.5. It was hard, but I don't have anyone to blame, you know, because I want to believe that I'm responsible for my own life and my own decision. And that's something that I learned really, really early on in recovery, to not blame and to be responsible, you know. So I have no one to blame, so I'm happy.
But that's also why you were able to just create the life and business that you truly want, because you start looking within, okay, what role am I playing in this? Because a lot of times when you're blaming everybody else, well, guess what? Your life is not going to get any better.
No.
It's actually probably going to get worse, or it's going to stay the same. When you start by looking, okay, how am I responsible for this? How did I track this into my life? Or what lesson do I need to learn? Because sometimes there's a lesson in there. And when we start blaming other people, guess what? You're not learning the lesson. And guess what? The universe, or I'm just going to use the universe because I work a lot with the universe, will just throw that lesson bigger until it is literally pushing off a cliff.
Over and over again.
Over and over. And every time it's going to be more intense. So just take responsibility, look at what lesson, and then move forward. And if you don't like your life, well, you're not a treat. You can move. Like, you can do
because it's your life. It's your life, right? Like, I can't do it. I often tell people, you know, I've helped like people, and when I was working in treatment centers, or when I work with people who are struggling with addiction, it's like, I can't do it for you. I can give you the tools, I always tell, I'm not going to tell you I'm not going to tell you to do anything I haven't done, but I can't do it for you. I don't have those words of wisdom or that magic wand, that's going to make you like do something. I can inspire, I can show you, but I can't do it for you.
And I love how you talk about you can't do it for you, because I mean, I'm a master energy healer among other things. And I've had people come to me, okay, you need to just fix me. I can help you fix yourself, but I can't do it for you. Like at times I wish I could, because imagine like I'd be able to help the whole planet. Like,
yeah,
but that's just not something. If you don't want to do the work, you don't want to take responsibility, then nobody else can do it for you.
But I believe we're also, and we've had this discussion, you and I, like when did we become conditioned as humans, that we didn't have any power over our lives? And we're in a way, we're conditioned like that. We look at the news and we're like, oh my God, look at what's going around in the world. How can my life be good? Or it's not all that great because look what's going on here. I stopped watching the news a few years ago. Originally, I did it for my daughter. Now I'm doing it for myself, because if I look at what's going on in the world, then the world is a really, really, really bad place to live.
I'm going to get depressed because I don't even have a TV. Because one time my mother came to visit. My brother lives in the same building. My brother was like, if you get bored, Patricia's got the keys to my place. I work at night. Just come over.
Yeah.
Because my brother used to come over. There's no TV. And I'm like, no, I don't watch TV. I haven't had a TV in probably at least 5-6 years, if not more.
Yeah. I still watch it, but I don't watch the news. It's depressing.
Yeah, exactly. I don't watch the news because if not, I might as well just put me back in a depression. So I don't bother. And then my mother, I'm like, Mom, I focus on the positive, and that's why also I have the amazing life that I have and I attract amazing people because I'm not focusing on all the bad stuff out there. I'm focusing on the good things. So it makes
you make room. You make room for it. Because then if you're stuck with all what's going on in the news and the newspapers and the radio and stuff like that, it's like there's no room. My business has grown like in the last year, because I'm making room for it.
Yeah, it's releasing what no longer serves you so you can make room for more amazing things. Last year, I think, was for a lot of people, not just myself, but a lot of people that I know and clients. 2016 was a huge year to just release what no longer served you. Release the people, the stuff, whatever it was. And then in 2017, for some of us, it started out rock and roll, was just normal with all the planets and all that aligned. Oh, there it is. But 2017 is going to be a huge and amazing year. So
for me, like I follow the Chinese philosophy and the horoscope, and I'm a rooster, and it's the year of the rooster. So it's like, you know what? It's my year.
Of course.
It's my year.
So Julie, I know you're working on a special project that you actually were one of the co-authors. Would you mind telling us a little bit about that?
Yes. You approached me to be featured in your book, Manifesting a New Life 3. And thank you for that. That was awesome. And at first it's like, okay, like what am I going to talk about? And I decided to talk about my journey in recovery and success and spirituality and freedom, because it's a big thing for me. The whole process was, for me, it was great. I didn't know how much I loved writing until I started writing, and I've written another chapter for someone else, and I write every day. But I'm used to, because I'm a translator, that's my business, I'm used to translating other people's stuff, and I help people with their resume, and I write stuff for people. But for me, it was like, wow, like I'm telling my story was very empowering. And I want to inspire people, but also like I want to be inspired. And for me, it was inspiring for me and inspiring. I hope it's going to be inspiring for other people.
You'll definitely be inspiring a lot of people, because I mean, I've been privileged. Obviously, I'm the compiler and publisher of Manifesting a New Life, Real Life Stories Inspired by the Law of Attraction. And your story will definitely be inspiring other people to just be able to move forward, and that they have the power to create anything that they want, because you've defied all odds to get to where you are. No, but it's true. You defied all odds to get to where you are.
Yeah.
And everybody most people in our chapter in the book, they talk about their journey, about where they got where they are. So yeah, I'm so glad that you're in the book, because you'll definitely want to get your copy, which will be available on March 30th on Amazon.com. And you can also check out the book website at manifestinganewlife.com. And while you're there, you'll be able to check out all of the co-authors. Under book 3 you'll be able to check out Julie's bio and everything else, because you'll want to learn more about her. So yeah, I'm excited to have you on board, and I can't wait for other people to read your story, because like I said, I've been blessed with everybody's been all just amazing. So, and
I'm very excited. I'm also looking forward to reading all the stories from the other co-authors, because I've met some of them, I know some of them, and it's like, oh yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be an amazing book, and I'm not just saying that because I'm the creator. And I've had a few people also, like the editor and all that, read the stuff, and it was like just wow. Mm-hmm. So it's fun. So Julie, unfortunately, we're almost out of time. So if people could only remember one thing, one piece of wisdom from today's interview, what would you recommend that they absolutely need to hear?
Again, it's if you want to change something, change something. You want a better life, things need to change. If you can't stay where you are right now, if you can't see yourself like moving on, well, then things need to change. And it's scary, I understand, but for me, like, the big thing is don't quit before the miracle happens. I say that to people all the time. Do not quit before the miracle happens, because I believe that the fact that I'm still sober today and that I got sober was a miracle. Call it the universe intervention, divine intervention, God intervention. It's a miracle. People like me are not supposed to be where they are today.
And a lot of times we quit right before magic can happen. So that's a really good piece of wisdom. Yeah. So Julie, if people would like to learn more about you, how can they find you?
Well, I'm going to have a website coming out really, really, really soon, my first ever website. But you can catch me on Facebook, on my business page. My name is spelled Julie Bourbeau. My last name is Bourbau. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on LinkedIn. And pretty soon you can find me in Manifesting a New Life 3.
Yay! Yay! So thank you so much, Julie, for taking some time out of your busy schedule to appear on the Spiritual Entrepreneur Show. So thank you.
My pleasure, really.
This show is brought to you by the international best-selling book series called Manifesting a New Life. The third book in the series, Manifesting a New Life, Real Life Stories Inspired by the Law of Attraction, will be available on Amazon starting March 30th, 2017. To learn more about the book or to purchase your own copy, please visit www.manifestinganewlife.com. Thank you so much for joining your host, Patricia, and for listening to the Spiritual Entrepreneur Show. Tune in next week at thespiritualentrepreneurshow.com for more motivation to manifest your dream life and business.